Hello everyone, this is Crota giving you a shoutcast in a game between EG Axslav and Root Gaming's Catz. So Evil Genius's Axslav spawning as the blue Protoss player, meanwhile Root Catz spawning as the yellow Zerg. This game was taken from MLG, and a funny story about MLG actually contacted me a couple weeks back and asked if, or wanted to talk to see if I wanted to do some shoutcasting, I'm assuming. And I told them I was interested, and then I never heard back from them. So if any MLG players or MLG business people are watching out there, I am still interested. You can contact me. My email address is crota@sclegacy.com. So yeah, thanks out there. So anyways, EG Axslav opening up with that front door pylon and now making his way out. And now the probe will be making it out, and I don't. Apparently, if you guys haven't been reading the conversation between these two players, apparently they're trying to develop a rivalry between the two of them. They're like, we can't both be rivals. We're both evil people. So two bad guys cannot be evil people. You need to have a good guy and a bad guy. So I don't know. I guess they could be rivals, EG Axslav and Root Gaming. If you guys didn't watch the Machinimo Realm Invitational, which I hosted a month or two back, EG did take 4 games in the final. So now a probe wandering back and forth over here at the low ground expansion, gonna deny that probe and deny that drone, and the drone being very smart, deciding to hide over here instead. And it looks like that probe is still hiding there. The Overlord is in position, and now the drone instead gonna opt to do some scouting. So that probe just gonna continue to wander right there as we now see the extractor and the spawning pool being laid down, disrupting a little bit of Catz's strategy. You can also see that there's a gateway here. Most likely it will be a cybernetics core here in just a moment, and then there's going to be a small opening between the Zealot for a Zealot to be able to stand in between those two locations. And now in comes a probe. The probe now going to try to get some damage onto that one drone. The drone will just be able to run away. There's that cybernetics core, and that opening actually seems large enough for 2 Zerglings or 2 Zealots to try to stand there. I'm not exactly sure why he didn't go for the more typical build where a pylon is placed over here and then a cybernetics core is placed right there, allowing one Zealot to hold off in that position there. Nexus currently being chrono boosted, more probes, and wandering between these are now going into a double gas build. So Axslav may be trying to go for some early sentries again. Pylon blocked now on the low ground expansion, so Catz is going to end up not having his early expansion nearly as quickly as he would like, as that probe now continues to wander around. That one Zealot holding position, but of course the drone deciding the mineral path his way out, able to escape there. Drone now making its way all the way back home. The pylon has finished warping in, so as soon as these Zerglings make their way, it will be able to destroy this pylon and get that hatchery set up. Catz is a little bit behind at this stage in the game. He has been running off of one base. He does finally have a queen, so that will help out with his production, but you can see the number of probes, 23 probes compared to 20 drones at this time, as more and more drones are being sacrificed in order to grow up to be buildings. And talking about growing up and being buildings, Catz opening or getting an expansion at the 3 o'clock location. This is a little bit unordinary as it is so far away from the natural player's base. In order for Catz to keep up this charade though, Catz will need to set up an expansion, set up his natural expansion. Otherwise, if he does not set up a hatchery here, then Axslav will know that something's up and then hunt for this additional expansion. So hidden expansions only work if the expansions actually stays hidden. A probe now wandering around on the inside of the base, doesn't see anything, and he also sees that Catz is still at tier 1, so that is a little bit strange. Catz now walking very, very slowly towards his towards this expansion over here, and if he's able to get that queen over there and increase production, that's going to help him out tremendously. A Zergling now sitting on the low ground ramp. If Axslav doesn't scout out that location, he may think that it is possible to just win off of one base, as a Protoss 1 base is much more effective than a Zerg 1 base. And now a drone now finally making its way over here will grow up to be a hatchery that is significantly delayed, as we are now going into a roach war, and Catz needs to get even more production units out, otherwise he is going to fall behind. You can see a Nexus has now been set up over here at the natural expansion location for Axslav. Robotics facility now coming into play as well. So this is a 3-gate into a robo facility with a whole lot of sentries currently being just sitting outside the ramp, with a lot of energy being stored up in those energy matrices for those sentries. Back here, Queen has spawned more larvae. More and more drones could be coming out of here in just a moment, but in comes a probe, and now Axslav knows the gig is up. The probe will get shut down there, but now Catz needs to get perhaps a couple drones and then morph them into spine crawlers at the natural expansion. Otherwise, this is going to be a very, very difficult expansion to try to defend. You can see already creep tumors being laid down. These creep tumors need to make their way out towards this expansion as well in order to develop a very strong creep highway. Stalkers and sentries here. Forge level 1 weapons upgrade currently being researched at the natural expansion. Number of options now for Axslav. Axslav now transitioning some probes over here to his natural expansion, as we see a queen just continue to try to spawn more larvae. I thought I saw the animation, but no, didn't see the actual animation. There we go. And also a lot of roaches being trained. We are getting the glial reconstitution, so those roaches should be able to offer some defense as creep tumors are continuing to make their way out across the map. There are some Zerglings hiding out over here. 3 Zerglings cannot take down 1 Zealot. That is not, even with perfect micro, it is very, very difficult to do, but roaches now making their way over. Stalkers also making their way over and getting some damage in as well. So getting some damage in as well onto some of those roaches, and now those Zerglings making their way over here. Stalkers now warping in a pylon, probe now warping in a pylon as Stalkers and sentries, and give me one moment. Alright, had to pause my recording for a second. Here you go, coming back in. Stalkers and sentries continue to battle it out, and Catz now going to lose this expansion that I was talking about earlier, and doing a great job using some force fields to also trap some of those drones, so this expansion will quickly fall. Roaches are now trying to take down this pylon over here to stop any of the reinforcements, but I think the damage has already been done. E.g. Axslav, with a lot of map presence and a lot of just map awareness, realized that his opponent must have had set up an earlier expansion over here, and now even more force fields. So those force fields are just really, really helping out Axslav here, as now the Stalkers are now going after some more of those Overlords. The Overlord may get shut down. Is he going to get another force field? No. And now it's going to be Stalkers against Roaches. Stalkers do move a little bit more, no, actually move slower now that the glial reconstitution has been completed, and the Stalkers are now in full retreat. Trying to turn around, trying to get a couple quick blasts. Zergling now also coming in as well. We are going to be getting more reinforcements here in just a moment. The Stalkers are upgraded 1-0 as the Stalkers are now battling it out. Zergling is now trying to come in as well, but there's now an Immortal, and that Immortal dealing 50 damage on attack is going to be able to deal a lot of damage very, very easily. Stalkers falling to the Zerglings, but now the Zealots are joining in on the fight, and the Stalkers without Stalker Blink are not, or without Blink, are not going to be able to chase down any of those Roaches. So very nice aggressive play by Axslav, killing many of the drones here, and now Catz, losing one of his queens, is essentially running off of 2 bases. He could easily get some more drones into this location, but he has to be very, very careful about how he does this. If he tries to overly expand and overly transition drones over, he's going to have a very difficult time, just because of the amount of area on the map he has to defend. Back here, Roaches are quickly taking down these sets of destructible rocks. Another hatchery should be placed down by Catz in just a moment. And now, Axslav should also be trying to perhaps set up an expansion down here, warping in that pylon first. Production-wise, more sentries and immortals are being added in addition to a Hydralisk den. There's that nexus that I was talking about. Army-wise, 2175 versus 1975, 54 probes versus 49 drones, as an extra hatchery is now being morphed into play here at the center high-yield mineral location on the north side here in the Xel'Naga Caverns. An observer has made its way inside the base of Catz, and Axslav pretty much knows everything he needs to know at this time. There is a queen here, no overseers though, so the queen will not be able to shoot down that observer at this time. But no, there is that overseer cocoon, there it is, and now that one observer needs to make its way out. Is he going to be able to escape? I do not believe so, especially with Hydralisk on creep, and now down it goes. So the scouting observer has been taken out as well, and now Axslav will just have to train up more observers in order to get even more map presence and map awareness. Hydralisks are getting the Groove Spines upgrade, so they will have a range of 6 in a moment, and those are going to be very, very deadly Hydralisks, especially on creep. However, off of creep, they're not nearly as effective, as there are now Immortals and Stalkers hiding out over here. We can see that there is one Zergling charging straight into this location here, and pretty much able to hide by that front door location. Not worrying about too much. And now a couple of Zerglings also getting lost down over here, coming back along this side as the Roaches, and now Zerglings running straight into the base. This is going to be a problem, as the Zerglings are going to have their way with these probes down over here. The probes now coming off the mineral line to try to defend against those Zerglings, but now Roaches coming in as well. Hydralisk army, both sides are going to start to battle it out. Zerglings and Stalkers trying to come back in as well. Sentries are now coming in, and now the Stalkers have blocked any serious form of retreat. Oh, why did he get those force fields down there? They are now trapping his own units. One Overseer, however, may get shot down there. Down goes a Hydralisk, as the Overseer is able to escape. While by placing down the force fields here, he was actually Axslav denied himself the ability to pursue. If he had just waited, come around, and then placed the force fields here, he could have split apart Catz's army and then perhaps gone for the win. There are some Roaches now over here, and now the Stalkers are able to get even more kills on more Hydralisk. Roaches now trying to come in back as well. In come those force fields that we were talking about earlier, and many of those Roaches are now unable to really escape. Down they go. We do have still a couple of Immortals, and those Immortals are now pulling back. So those Immortals, the proper counter to those Roaches, and now they're also what Roaches currently burrowed. One very low hit point Immortal will be able to recharge those shields. Roaches and now Hydralisk going to hide out on the high ground, and by hiding out on the high ground, they're going to be able to start dealing damage towards those probes and units. However, the units are going to be coming back over here. Perhaps even a force field may be placed down here to prevent any serious retreat, as the Stalkers now coming in. This is going to be a problem for Catz. Catz really has nowhere to run. He should have thought about this, as he now needs to fight the army of Axslav, and that was poor decision making. But back over here, we see even more Roaches and Hydralisks coming in, picking apart more of those units, but the majority of Catz's army is going to get destroyed here. You can see now the army is in favor of Axslav by a lot. You can see Hydralisk and Roaches continuing to battle it out. Stalkers now trying to buy some time, as the reinforcements will be coming in just a moment. Roaches now pulling in, trying to continue to give chase, as the Stalkers are now focusing down unit after unit, and now even more army of Axslav is going to be able to finish off the rest of the Hydralisks and the rest of these Roaches. So wow, continuing battle here in the Xel'Naga Caverns. The main base has nearly been mined out. Colossi are now going to be added to the army, and now in comes what I expect to be more Hydralisks and Roaches. There are no creep tumors down over here, so unable to establish an even stronger creep highway. A minimum number of drones coming off of this location, as the fight is going to continue. One poor probe doesn't realize how close he is to death as it gets taken down. No, the pylon over here was not warped in, as Zerglings now trying to swarm into the main base. So a nice two-pronged attack coming in from Root Catz, and Catz just attacking everywhere that Roots and that Axslav wants, or Axslav cannot be. Roaches now engaging over here, but there are going to be a lot of Stalkers and more probes coming in, more Roaches coming in from this side. And now Axslav is in serious trouble. His income is pretty much half of his opponent's at this stage, unable to really mine out. He needs to get some photon cannons along the backside in order to help out. And now with one Colossus, and now getting the extended thermal lance range, things may start to turn in the favor of Axslav, especially with the extended thermal lance range. There is not going to be any more harassment by those units. We do have a Spire now coming into play, most likely 4 Corruptors, and without seeing any Twilight Council, it is going to be difficult for those Stalkers without Blink in order to catch up to those Corruptors. Corruptors do move fairly quickly. Stalkers, I'm unable to get underneath them, but the Corruptors also have a lower range than Vikings, so that does help it out. Hydralisk and Roaches still hiding out over here, and now it looks as though Axslav is starting to even out the economy just a little bit. It is currently 3 bases, or essentially mining off of 2 bases, compared to 3 bases at this time, but this mineral patches are not being mined out that effectively at all. Colossus are now joining in on the fight. This hatchery is going to quickly fall. This one queen now down over here using that long-range attack, and in comes Zerglings. Zerglings once more going to try to funnel their way through, perhaps get a lot of damage onto those probes, and taking on that photon cannon first. A lot of Zealots now trying to be warped in over here as the fight continues. The Colossi need to just fight in this battle over here, as the probes are now being transferred over. The majority of those units, another Colossus coming in, doesn't realize how much much in danger he currently is. Needs the pullback, needs the extended thermal lance range. He does have it, but the majority of Catz's units are now going to fall as the main army has re-engaged, but Catz has taken down the Nexus yet again. There are 3 Colossus here, and now I don't believe Catz actually realizes that he's losing a majority of his army just trying to deal damage to a Nexus. And what was an advantage for Rude Catz just a minute ago is now once again in favor of Axslav. And if you take a look at the income, you can now see what Catz is still ahead in income by about 700, 800 minerals a minute, but the standing army and the tech on those Colossus may be a little bit too much. Spinecrawler is now trying to come in as well. The Corruptors are nowhere to be found so far, as the Zerglings are now trying to come in as well. Colossus now trying to do some damage. Hydralisk is now going to come around that backside. Sentries are going to get caught out of position and unable to really do anything there, as those units are now going to be coming down. Hydralisk is going to walk straight into this group here, and the probes need to once again try to re-engage. The Colossi need to get down there, and I believe there are going to be enough probes now trying to shut this down, and I believe this Nexus will fall. So both Nexuses have been taken down. Axslav down to 15 minerals. Down to 15 minerals, unable to really seriously mine at this stage in the game. This one hatchery should just get shut down, and as soon as this hatchery goes, the rest may fall. We'll see what's going to happen production-wise. Corruptors are being added, roaches are still being added, a Colossus is now being trained as more long-distance mining in the attempt to try to mine more minerals. Perhaps we should get another Nexus here, followed by here in just a moment. But the Corruptors out of position, now going straight for the Colossus. The Colossus need to run away. A lot of those Colossi are going to get taken down. Stalkers now trying to give chase, unable to. There are still four Colossus standing tall. Will it be enough? There are a lot of Corruptors in that army, so a majority of that army is currently Corruptors sniping down another Colossus. That is going to continue to be an issue. Corruptors do move more quickly than Vikings, the same movement speed as a Stalker, so the Stalker is unable to catch up, and now those Colossi are just wandering around the map still. Who's going to win this game? I'm still not sure. The game is still going on, and wow, I did not expect this game to actually be this long. As the battle continues, Axslav trying to shoot down, is going to be able to snipe down that Spinecrawler, but the Corruptors are now coming in, going quickly after those Colossi. As soon as those Colossi are going to get taken down, the rest of the Zerg army should be able to swarm in just a moment. The Stalkers are now focusing down onto the Corruptors. The Zerglings and Roaches and Hydras should already trying to be engaging, and there's that force field, and this is going to be a battle here to see who can really win out. The force field is doing such a great job preventing any of those units from really being able to engage. A Size Storm would just be absolutely critical, as those Immortals continuing to just get a lot of kills, and Axslav, even though he is behind economically, has a large enough army to continue to fight back. There are 20 Hydralisks now being trained though, so that's going to be a large reinforcement batch coming in just a moment, but more of those units are still unable to re-engage. Where are those Hydralisks? 21 Hydralisks now will be flooding out. There we go. The army sizes are now even once again, as Axslav's economy is pretty much dwindling down to nothing. Stalkers, Immortals, and some Sentries now making their way over here to this hatchery. Income on both sides is now very low, as the more force fields coming in. Hydral is now trying to engage over here. Stalkers are low on hit points. One Observer watching out to see if there's any perhaps burrowed Infestors or burrowed Roaches. As more units continue to final in, do we have enough energy for some more force fields? It doesn't look like it, and I believe Axslav will be forced to say GG in a little bit, as his army is now getting destroyed by Hydralisks on both sides. There are a couple Sentries here, but this is not looking good. Roaches and Hydralisks completely outnumbering the Immortals that are left. More long distance mining. Not quite sure why Axslav didn't transfer just all the probes to these mineral patches. This walk of shame is already shameful enough, but to walk of shame from this location, then there's the GG. So EG Axslav losing to Rude Catz here in the Xel'Naga Caverns. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. I hope you guys like this MLG Pro Circuit game between these two high-level players.